Well, we were just... Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
No, I just was going to say, I thought it was interesting. We were talking about Doug Brown's article about loss prevention using AI in retailers. And Meredith was just telling us about King Super having you put your produce down.
Supers.
Is it King Supers?
Yeah.
Well, that was embarrassing.
I couldn't let you go on. I couldn't.
So it's not S-U.
Ignore that.
Isn't it S-U-P-E-R? Don't you go there all the time?
They're like at least once a day. But there is this neat thing where if you put your vegetable like on the self-checkout, it is automatically like determining what your vegetable is. Or it'll come up with like two options. So you'll put a carrot down and it'll be like either this is a carrot or it's like a parsnip. Tell if you guys have this issue at self-checkout where you put a vegetable down and then you forget what the name of the vegetable is. And then because let's say you get like a rutabaga.
Oh.
And then you're like, I can't do self-checkout. I don't remember what this is called.
Well, one of the things that his article talked about, which I thought was really interesting because it just never would have occurred to me in a million years, but it makes sense that people would do this, criminals, is putting in self-checkout, like you put down a steak to get the weight, and then you write in that it's a rutabaga.
Yes.
So that kind of theft is being, and so getting these AI tools is really helping stores like King, not Super, but Supers, really help identify what people are actually checking out as opposed to what they're saying they're checking out.
Yeah, I thought that was a great piece. So look out, grocery store.
Peas.
This is The Naturalist. In every episode, we're covering the products, ideas, and trends that are shaping the CPG industry.
Or that we just really like.
Okay, so Meredith, we're here with Meredith Kaufman.
Welcome.
Thank you. This is, I think, my first time. It's not my first time on a podcast, but it is my first time on a vodcast.
Oh.
Or what are we?
Vodcast.
A vodcast.
Not so vodka cast.
Not the vodka cast, but vodcast.
Yeah. So Meredith, some of you might know her because she works on the Nexty Awards. She writes great articles for newhope.com. And you are here to talk about sweets and snacks. Right?
Yes, I sure am.
Which I like both of those.
Yeah,
I like sweets
and the
snacks.
expo as well. Yes.
Because you were at the show.
Yeah. I was in Indianapolis last week, and New Hope just published this morning my story on my top trends and takeaways from the show. And I know we talked about it a little bit this morning, but I think that one of the most interesting things was really like the proliferation of just better for you snacking, in terms of like the amount of protein that is in everything and the amount of fiber that's in everything. It can be kind of confusing now to know, like, if you pick up some gummies that are loaded with fiber and sweetened with allulose, like, is this good for me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So some of the functional positioning you think can be a little bit,
some
mixed messages.
I feel like I personally am like confused, and I'm not saying it's a good or a bad thing. It's just an interesting.
Well, I think what you said about functional is kind of the key word here, right? Because we've seen better for you versions, obviously. And this is obviously something we've seen in the natural channel, but we're not just talking about replacing sugar with something else or replacing something with fruit juice. It's actually adding in purposefully functional ingredients, right?
Right. Yeah. So like what's happening with the free from conversation, right? And I think this speaks to it. Like, no longer is eliminating problematic ingredients enough for people. They also want to feel that they're getting a unique benefit from the product. But does that translate to the sweets and snacks category? Or at the end of the day, do people just want a sweet and a snack that's maybe a little better, a little cleaner, but like, are people seeking functional ingredients and benefits in their sweets and snacks? I don't know. We don't know.
I feel like that's a really good question, and also something that every year after Expo West is a topic of conversation, which is, to what extent are people just seeking ingredient panels that are really clean, simple ingredients versus to what extent do they want their candy to actually be something that has 0 grams of sugar and a lot of added fiber, even if that, the alternative sweetener might be something that isn't honey or dates, and if the fiber is coming from something like corn fiber.
Yeah.
I I don't know what the answer is. I feel like it's always a moving target.
Yeah. You talked about protein.
Yep.
Protein and everything. We were not surprised to hear that. I did just see an article as you were talking about that. Jenna pulled up one of our, well, you've met Jenna Fitch, or Hugh. And she pulled up an article from the Future Market, and it was like, I think it was entitled, it was in a newsletter, I think the article was entitled Protein Tunnel Vision. It was like, all we're talking about is protein. And it's true, but we also have said protein is for sure here to stay because we've seen these different waves, plant-based and back to animal sources and protein everywhere. But what do you think about that? Like when you were seeing all these protein-infused products at Sweets and Snacks, like how did that make you feel?
I have some evolving emotions on the subject. So initially when protein was appearing in everything like potato chips and ice cream and chocolate, I don't want to be a hater and say that I didn't really like it, but it's
You thought it was dumb.
Yeah, I thought it was dumb. But I'm actually having a change of heart. Okay, you know how people say, like, if you want candy, just eat candy. If you want ice cream, just eat ice cream. But then at a certain point, you realize that you actually don't have self-control.
So it's not a them problem, it's a you problem.
Well, I was using that, like, I think that was kind of my justification for a long time. Just eat the real thing and you'll want less of it.
Okay.
But I have been realizing recently that is not always the case.
Mm-hmm.
So I purchased protein ice cream from King Soopers recently.
You're never going to let that go.
And I realized it was really good.
And as you were consuming it, you're like, okay, this is ice cream. It's an indulgence. And I'm glad I'm getting more protein from this serving of ice cream.
Yes. And so it's allulose sweetened, which I find allulose to be kind of like the best tasting of the zero sugar sweeteners. No, okay,
I was kidding.
We're gonna do our we're gonna do our alternative sweetener taste testing soon.
I'm excited.
See if Adrienne can discern what is in what. So much pressure. But when it has allulose, but it also has like real cream as well.
Yes,
it tastes like real ice cream. And so I was just finding that, maybe it is okay that I'm enjoying this as opposed to eating like a whole pint of.
I don't actually think it was okay.
Okay. So you're still on.
Well, I would rather have, this is me, obviously, but like, I'd rather have a bowl of real ice cream and put nuts on it if I want the protein.
I think I could see, like, I agree with both of you. I'm going to be...
so different.
Yeah, you're both really insightful, really intelligent people. I think that where I stand on protein specifically, well, I think it's just interesting, like, we're kind of continue to explore all the different benefits of protein and really understanding, are most people not getting enough? And we've kind of gone in waves with the science around that. But as it relates to, like, daily foods that I'm consuming, I think it makes, and let's stick with sweets and snacks for this conversation. Yeah. To me, it makes more sense in snacks than it does in sweets. And just like functional in general. Because sweets are something that to me is like it's so rare, Okay, that's a lie, but it is like, it's going to be like an indulgence at the end of the day. Okay. Snacks, like we're snacking all day. So making sure that those snacks have benefits to them and a little more protein, sneaking that in rather than. So to me, like functional, I think it resonates with me a little bit more on the snack side.
That makes sense
than it does on the desserts.
What I thought was really interesting is something that you mentioned to me about the show, the Sweets and Snacks Expo, that you saw protein being kind of called out everywhere, even on things that were inherently kind of protein full, like cheese.
Yeah.
Which cracks me up because if I want protein, I'll just, as a snack, I'll just eat some cheese. Yes. I just ate a whole thing of cottage cheese for my lunch. So yes, I love cheese. But but I think that that's funny too, because, these things, I don't know, maybe the average person doesn't know that cheese has protein in it.
Mm. What about jerky? Because I specifically had to call out jerky as its own trend at Sweets and Snacks, which obviously you could just lump that in with the protein category. But when every third booth is basically a jerky booth, you kind of have to start to talk about jerky, right? Yeah. As its own standalone. So right. I think what was really interesting to me is, kind of having this takeaway that it's not only the demand for protein that people want, but it seems like the pendulum is also swinging back towards animal-based protein. And not just that, but when you see big brands like Jack Link's that are starting to promote their jerky that only has 3 ingredients and no sugar and is grass-fed beef, it's interesting because you really start to see, oh, okay, there's a lot of trends that we've been seeing in natural products for a long time that are really becoming mainstream.
Yeah, fully being embraced by it, which is great.
And that's an interesting example, too, because we've talked a lot on the podcast about animal sources for protein products and just animal protein in general, animal-based protein in general. But I think what you pointed out is like a lot of the conversations in the natural products industry are moving back from kind of this huge surge in plant-based protein to animal. But then in conventional meat production, you're seeing a shift over to cleaner label, organic, and potentially even investments in regenerative.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be interesting to see what some of those big meat producers are delivering in terms of more sustainable and ethical products.
Well,
So
isn't that the dream, right? I mean, that's what we want, right? To have this trickle down from natural, move into conventional, and then from there, the conventional brands to really embrace some of these important values.
Did I tell you guys about my Miracle Grow?
I really like to hear it.
This is like a huge like ethical dilemma. So I love gardening. I mean, the throes of gardening season. I love it. It's my happy place. But I was like going out and getting my soil for the yard and for my pots. And I like typically buy this one like small brand. And then I just saw Miracle Grow Organic everywhere. I was at Home Depot for this one. Normally I go to a local Actors. Have you been to Actors? Actors is where I get most of it. You do?
That place is awesome.
Yeah, I love it. So normally I get all my stuff there, but I was like at Home Depot for something and I just saw Miracle Grow's organic soil, potting soil and garden soil everywhere. And so I went for it. And then I had this whole like internal debate where I was like, is this right? Because I'm supporting Miracle Grow's kind of transition to more organic. And they're obviously making a
But if they
push
see
there.
people are buying their organic one, is that going to make them more and more sustainable? And
Yeah. And then or am I just supporting this big, I think it's Scott's. Is Scott's the company that does it?
No, I think those are all valid questions.
So it's like, but it's the things we think about every day in our food choices, you know, and what we support and where we put our dollars. But overall, I landed on cool that they're really investing in this and the more people that can be supporting it. And obviously it's responding to consumer demand for organic products in your own garden, which is really cool.
Something that, this just made me think of talking about like I don't know if it's like greenwashing per se, but you hear a lot about like grass-fed beef right now. And I was just kind of thinking, to what extent are we seeing like grass washing instead of greenwashing? Because you see so many meat products that are like grass-fed beef, but you don't actually hear anything about the sourcing story. All you're hearing is like jerky from grass-fed beef, which is great, but that doesn't really...
It doesn't mean that the cow isn't in a tiny
What does it mean, right? You know, like we still...
Or how much grass.
Right, like we still don't really know. There's still so many questions. So I feel like the term grass-fed is also something that is very ripe for greenwashing right now.
Yes.
Yeah, we actually, I wrote an article about this, I want to say like 4 years ago in Natural Foods Merchandiser, where I talked to a whole bunch of producers who were doing regenerative meats and then, some of the associations behind them. And one of the things that they just said you always have to do is, and there are obviously like different levels, but like eggs, it's all very confusing, but you have to always look for grass-fed, pasture-raised, pasture-grazed, because anything can be given some grass and it doesn't say how much.
Right.
Like, I got one blade of grass, but you always have to look for that pasture grazing piece. That's the important part.
Blade of grass-fed.
Blade of grass-fed.
Single blade.
Oh, the egg department is really hard to... if it's hard for me to navigate, I can only imagine what it feels like for someone who doesn't work in this industry.
It was almost better when there were no eggs, because no hard decisions. The eggs are back. They are.
But are they affordable?
It's better, right? I think the prices have gone
I think they've dropped a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
The other day, actually, I saw this woman looking at eggs at a grocery store. And she looked confused. She was looking at that. So I kind of went over there like, oh, I can help you. I actually know a little bit about this industry. Let me talk you through. And then she tried to convert me to her religion. I think.
Well, you tried to convert her to your...
tried to convert her to mine. Good call.
Okay.
Meredith, what did you bring for us to try from Snack and Sweet?
So I brought 3 different all sweet snacks for us to try today. And
so excited.
Like I said, Adrienne's going to have to guess what the sweetener is. I think the first thing that we're going to try is Hormbles Chormles. I want to make sure I'm getting this right, but it's very difficult to pronounce. So this brand literally just launched, I want to say a couple months ago. And it was founded by the same people who started RX Bar.
Oh.
And this is a chocolate bar with...
I love it. It's so nostalgic.
10 grams of protein. So...
Okay.
Yeah. And I haven't tried this. I didn't try it.
And how much? How much do I have to eat of that?
Whole bar.
Oh, okay.
It's 1 bar. And they're really positioning this as chocolate, not as like a protein bar, not as a,
Okay.
Yeah, this is chocolate.
I also...
No,
go ahead.
You go.
I was going to say, I think that they're also really positioning this to the older generations because the nutrition facts panel is actually something I can read without this is the Gen X chocolate bar.
Chocolate bar of the future.
Yes.
All right, so let's give this a try.
Hormbles. It's so cute. I love how it just is so nostalgic looking. I love it.
I think this is good. It's also interesting because when I was speaking to the people at the Hormbles Chormles booth, they were telling me that in terms of a formulation, there's really a sweet spot to how much protein you can put in it before it starts to alter the taste. Mm-hmm. And for them, they really didn't want to compromise on something that just tasted like a chocolate bar.
Yeah, so it's whey protein isolate, whey protein concentrate, and milk protein isolate.
It's got a little aftertaste.
What do you think the sweetener is?
It's mildly furry, but a little bit of the aftertaste is a little chemical to me. Allulose, maybe?
But also monk fruit.
Yeah, monk fruit is the furriness.
Giving you the aftertaste, yeah.
Oh, I thought it was the furry is the monk fruit.
That's like a stevia. Yeah.
Oh, so it's stevia, monk fruit, allulose. It's the triple threat.
Yeah.
No erythritol, though. That'd be the quadruple threat. And I don't think this is not positioned for the natural products industry. So we're talking more conventional.
Well, that's a good question, and I feel like it remains to be seen, but I actually would think it would be positioned.
Because it does have palm oil, palm kernel oil. It doesn't feel...
yeah.
Great point, though. I should not look at it through the lens.
Yeah, no, I just...
I'm not going to talk about this like a nexty product.
Yeah. But I think it's adorable. And Hormbles, Chormbles, I just can't stop saying that.
This company is called Nebula Snacks. I think they're maybe based in Austin, Texas.
It's kind of like a similar vibe, like a similar packaging vibe.
I mean, we're seeing so many beautiful packaging options, these bright colors. And the doesn't the letter, the type kind of looks like NASA? Maybe that's...
Oh, it's like a little mound.
Oh yeah, what's the thing with coconut shreds that no kids actually like?
Mounds, I love those. Yeah.
It's not sweet at all.
This one I do think is positioned more as a natural snack.
What do these things say?
Oh, okay. It's a
useful one.
0 added sugar, 0 artificial ingredients, 0 sugar alcohols, organic dark chocolate, blood glucose.
I love it.
I love how dark it is.
And not sweet and just delicious. Yeah.
Nebula Snacks, everyone.
Endorsed by the naturalist.
This one, I think is interesting because I was trying to go around to all of the booths for the, gigantic candy companies in the world and ask, what's new in natural sweets and snacks for you guys? I was also trying to learn a little bit more about what these companies are going to be doing about getting rid of artificial food dyes from their supply chain.
Right. Hot topic right now.
You have to say, let's talk about that first.
Yeah, let's take up.
Do you need some water?
Actually, yes, that would be really great. Okay, so what's interesting is it's not that there's a taste difference in dyes. It's my understanding that you can get a lot more consistency from the artificial dyes
and cheaper.
Way cheaper. Whereas using the natural dyes, it's just going to require them to kind of like alter formulations and stuff like that. There's issues with like color shelf stability, consistency, and coloring. Like, for example, when you look at products that have that sheen and like they almost look like they're covered in shellac, that's titanium dioxide. And I'm pretty sure that that's something that RFK would like to get rid of. And it probably shouldn't be in our food to begin with. But I'm not sure if there's even like a natural alternative to giving things that like shellac color.
Which then requires like totally like changing consumers' expectations of things. Like maybe everything should just be matte and beige.
I'm down.
But it is really interesting because like just think about what are some of the barriers. I think it was last week or a couple episodes ago, we talked about cost and scalability, but also just the actual like that same aesthetic that people are used to, companies are used to. They built their brand and their product around it. So there are a lot of more variability in some of these natural ingredients, less like vibrant colors, less glossiness. And yeah, I think that's those are very real concerns for conventional food companies.
But when you were talking about just going back to this product, so from Starburst, you were telling me about the new natural Starburst. I was imagining them as like the square.
Gotcha. No, so these are more like gummies.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we do have, I mean, there are natural versions of similar things to Starburst. Is it Yum Earth has one that's like the chewy squares?
Gotcha. I have not tried those.
I haven't either.
I mean, just as an anecdote.
Yeah. Yeah, so there are some alternatives.
But I can't think now if they're matte or shiny.
They're probably, I'm thinking right now too, like, are there any natural candy products that I can think of that are shiny? And I really can't think of any. Like, you even think about like natural versions of M&Ms.
That was going to be my example.
Yeah, they're shiny. No, like I can't remember the brand that I'm thinking of, but they're
Unreal brand. Yeah. Unreal. Yeah.
Or is Unreal still?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're, so it's...
Yeah, they are kind of matte.
You know the other thing?
I really miss that titanium dioxide.
Go get it while you can. The other thing I've been thinking about with the food dyes and how it could be interesting in terms of changing the supply chain, I'm wondering if it will actually, in the short term, have a negative impact on the natural products industry. And the reason I say that is because if you've got a company, let's say like Hershey coming in and suddenly they're trying to put in a gigantic order for this amount of...
They're buying all over the world.
Well, that's what I'm saying. How are smaller companies going to get a contract when they just can't, they're going to be like less, I would imagine.
Yeah. Like they're buying all the butterfly pea.
Yeah, exactly. So...
Yeah, it could cause some major supply chain issues. And it's just like these, which again, I think the like net outcome is that it's more of these healthier, better for you products for people, but it also kind of chips away at some of those differentiators too, as you see bigger companies investing in cleaner ingredients.
Yeah.
So.
But, hopefully that will also help push the supply chain towards spending more money on investing in these kinds of cleaner ingredients and organic ingredients, and ultimately bring the price points closer together too between organic, regenerative products and conventional. I mean, I can see from both sides.
Yeah, once it kind of levels out, that then those ingredients will be more affordable because they've been purchased at scale by the large CPG companies. So wait, before we try these, I'm gonna make it so we never get to.
No, let's never try.
Let's just look at that.
But what is actually going on with artificial colors? Like, what is the timeline? No one really knows what's happening. All I know is that In-N-Out has been the first fast food company to say we're doing it now, getting rid. And there are obviously other companies, but what are legal person?
I mean, I'm going to tell you this in a very non-official capacity because I haven't really been keeping up super well with all of the updates. I'm fairly certain that even before RFK was, instated, California already had passed its own legislation getting rid of dyes, right? Which was putting a lot of scrutiny on the FDA. And then now that RFK is in power, he's saying, we're going to also get rid of artificial dyes. I think what a lot of people are missing is that when it comes to like the regulatory state or like what's left of it right now, it takes a really long time to enact new regulations and also to get rid of regulations. There's a whole process. So just because, somebody has gone on the news and has said we're going to get rid of dyes, that doesn't mean...
Yeah, I don't believe there are actually any agreements in place. From what my understanding is this would be nice and this is what I want to see.
Like guidance.
But I don't believe that there, and I think that a lot of, companies some of them were already moving in that direction, but I don't think that there are actually any legal regulations or agreements in place between big food industry players and the government to eliminate these things.
And that's why it is cool when you hear of a company like In-N-Out Burger. I'm an In-N-Out Burger.
Taking a stance on their own.
Saying, okay, we are going to do it now. Probably have been planning to, but are like, now's the time. We're not going to wait. So I'm curious to see who else will.
In-N-Out Burger, I've never been there. And maybe I should go when we're at Expo West sometime.
Let's do it.
All right.
We can
crack
do
it open.
Who wants to open? I'll see.
You do.
I have to say, though, I was expecting like a...
Yeah.
Oh, sorry to just... Yeah, guys.
I'm not as much...
But you know what, Meredith, you had mentioned to me a conversation that you had with someone at the show from a big, well-known, long-standing snacks company who said that even if it weren't for the administration talking about these things, that's the direction that they're moving anyway, because that's what consumers are demanding, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that like you're seeing things that are changing from the top down and the bottom up. And when I say the top down, I'm obviously referring to things like the administration, people who have, like large platforms who are really passionate about these issues, but also the fact that anyone with social media these days can, they can get on TikTok and they can make a reel where
they're looking, brand.
Yeah, they're looking at an ingredient panel and they're saying like, why is this in this product? I don't want that anymore. And so regardless of what's happening politically, it's just within the best interest of lots of companies right now to kind of be like thinking about what are the ingredients that are going into these products. Because, I mean, another factor that we haven't even talked about is like GLP-1 users.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of these products, I would say specifically like these goodies, if you look at the ingredients, it's not, I mean, there's no artificial flavors. It's sweetened with fruit juice. However, it's not like the most natural ingredient panel. But I would say that this is honestly probably targeted more towards like a GLP-1 user.
Yeah.
As opposed to someone who's, like a Whole Foods aficionado.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think you're right to point out like the GLP-1 and metabolic health, kind of all those conversations driving this. And then that, and also the Make America Healthy Again movement, which has just mainstreamed a lot of this, but also means that people may be having different expectations. It might not be a core green shopper that these products are trying to reach. So
I think they're tasty. I will say that the two flavors that they put in the same packet seem really bizarre to me. Watermelon and cherry.
Because those are everyone's favorites.
It's like a stone fruit and then
That's because everybody,
you know what I mean?
Pink, and everybody likes the pink one's the best. I feel like with Starburst as a kid, it was always like lemon and orange were the throwaways.
Oh my God, lemon is the only one I like. I just think watermelon and cherry is super bizarre.
No, I feel like pink and red were like the Starburst.
And also the watermelon is orange. I don't understand that color choice.
Once again, I'm just not getting in the middle. Well, this was fun.
Yes,
so much fun. Informative, fun. So many good treats.
Yeah.
Yeah, please go places and then bring us food anytime you want.
I mean, please send me to more expos where I indie
stuff my haze and snacks.
Getting all the sweets and treats.
No.
Send us off.
Rate and subscribe anytime.